Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. This is the Kane County Transportation Committee for Tuesday, June 15th, 2021. Could I have a roll call, please?
Berman,
Berman here.
Igbo,
Iqbal present.
Kenyon,
Here.
Caius,
Caius present.
Kopi,
Kopi's here.
Wonicky,
Present.
Martin,
Martin here.
Shepro, Fraz.
Braz here. Okay, could I have a motion and a second to approve our minutes from our May 18th, 2021 meeting?
Caius move.
Moved by Mr. Caius. second by
Wonicky
Ms.
seconds.
Wonicky. Questions or comments or changes? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Berman,
Yes.
Igbo,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Kopi,
Kopi, yes.
Wonicky,
Yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Fraz.
Braz, yes. Public comment, is there anybody in person or online who would like to address this committee? Seeing and hearing none, we'll move on to our finance report. We're going to go to Kathy Hopkinson for May Transportation Committee Financial Report.
Good morning, thank you. The monthly Transportation Committee finance reports are here for your review and in the packet for your review. Just to follow up on a question that was asked at last month's meeting. On the this page right here in front of you, the charts on the right-hand side of this page represent the amounts that are budgeted for those years, and the line graphs represent the actual amounts to date. Did anyone have any other questions on the monthly finance reports?
Seeing none?
Okay. Then we're going to move on to our budget presentation. This is a draft of our fiscal 2022 budget. There are some possible revenue funding opportunities that could become available to KDOT in the next few weeks or months. And if those occur, we will be making adjustments to this draft budget. Next slide. The guiding principles for KDOT's budget are public safety, leveraging our local funds with federal and state funds, and supporting economic development via our county road and bridge network. Next slide. Here's a snapshot of our 2022 budget. It's a $106 million budget, which is an increase of $20 million compared to fiscal 2021's budget. Capital projects are the predominant component of our budget, and this year, $33 million of our capital budget is for Longmeadow. IDOT final payments also represent a significant portion of our 2022 budget, almost $11 million. And that's where IDOT has not yet submitted a final bill to us for a completed project. Our property taxes and motor fuel taxes, we expect no increase. Our local option motor fuel taxes, we are budgeting a slight decrease. And our local option motor fuel taxes are taxes on gasoline pumped in Kane County, as opposed to the motor fuel taxes, which is Kane County's share of motor fuel taxes collected across the state of Illinois. So our motor fuel taxes are rebounding from this past year, but our local option motor fuel taxes are still sluggish. RTA taxes, we are projecting an increase for 2022, although still below actual 2019. Grants, next year will be our final year of our Rebuild Illinois funds. We received $17 million in Rebuild Illinois grants. The last $5.7 million comes in 2022. Next slide. KDOT uses 19 funds for all of our activities, 6 special revenue funds, and 13 capital projects funds. KDOT is not part of the county's general fund. Next slide. This chart is a synopsis of the revenues and expenses that form KDOT's recurring operations and our capital projects. County tax levies, motor fuel taxes, and a good portion of the transportation sales tax support ongoing operations, including our pavement maintenance, personnel, traffic signals and lighting, rock salt, vehicles and equipment. Our capital projects are generally funded by our federal and state reimbursements, grants, cash on hand, some of which is from our sales tax funds and our local option funds. New items on this slide as compared to prior years. We've delineated internal fund transfers, which are, as stated, transfers between our own KDOT funds, primarily our impact fee funds. We are able to take a % administrative fee and transfer to other funds. Also, toll revenue is depicted for the first time. It is our best estimate right now based on our plans to date that we would collect 2.8 million in 2022 in toll revenue, which will be used to fund debt service payments on the toll bonds and operations and maintenance costs for toll collection services and back office operations. Next slide. Capital projects represent 75% of our total budget. Capital projects includes not only our road and bridge construction projects and our bridge maintenance projects, but also debt service on the toll bonds. Our capital projects are multi-year projects that can go 5 years or longer. They're broken into phases. We budget into phases of 3 phases of engineering, right-of-way, and construction. And project readiness drives our budget. So if you think back to our budget and actual numbers, we put projects in our budget based on our plans and expectations, but if a project is not ready, we have to move it forward to another year. The budget that we put together for the county represents KDOT's share of project costs and may not show the entire project costs. On many of our larger projects, KDOT partners with the state of Illinois, and the state will pay some of the costs towards a King County road or bridge project. For engineering costs, the county hires an engineering firm and pays the engineering firm and receives reimbursement from the state. On construction, the state will pay the contractor and bill the county for our share of the costs. Next slide. Just an overview again of our revenues. Property taxes and motor fuel, no increase is proposed. Our local option motor fuel tax is a 3.01% decrease. Transportation sales tax, we are projecting an increase. Next slide. Highlights of our budgeted expenses. Salaries and wages, we are budgeting a 3.1% increase over 2021. KDOT's personnel are housed in 2 different funds, 2 different buckets, if you will. Our non-union employees are in Fund 300, and our union employees are in Fund 302, which is our motor fuel tax. Our Fund 300 County Highway Fund, for next year's budget, we are including a brand-new position in the budget, which is why the percent increase is 4%. The new position is called Ride and Cane Program Coordinator. This new position will be managing additional federal funds for public transportation throughout Kane County. Fund 302 is contractually based employees. Overtime, we have no change proposed compared to prior year. Employee benefits, it is a 1.2% decrease, primarily due to the IMRF employer contribution, which dropped from over 8% last year to 6.73% for 2022's employer contribution costs. Contractual services are budgeted for a 26% increase, commodities 4.6% increase, and capital 23% increase, the majority of which is Long Meadow. Next slide. As mentioned a few moments ago, the costs that roll through the county represent the county's costs on a project. But on this slide, we're able to show you the total county costs plus the state costs. Total county costs for our 91 projects that are in our 2022 budget are $85 million. The state will partner with us and provide $12 million for next year for a total cost of $100 million. When we capitalize assets on the county's financial statements, we actually capitalize the total cost of the asset, both the county share and the state share together. On the far right of this chart, you'll see the county's share and the federal, state, and other share. And for next year, the county is picking up about 86% of our project costs. And if you compared this chart to prior years, that county share percentage continues to increase. It's probably the highest it's been in several years as the amount of federal and state funding has decreased over the last several years. Next slide. So the next few slides are a list of all of our projects by project type. So this chart shows all of our new roadway lane projects. Next slide. Our intersection safety and operational improvement projects, we have 13 of those, and we do not have any federal participation on any of these to date. That could always change. Next slide. We have 40 bridge and structural projects. On this page and the next two pages, this is a list of all of the projects and the various phases of the project that are included in the budget. These are our 7 traffic safety and interconnect projects. We have 3 bicycle and pedestrian improvement projects, one of which is our pedestrian federally required ADA improvements, which is sort of a continuous project. Maintenance, I'd like to point out a few things. While we have capital projects, which are one-time projects, KDOT is responsible for ongoing maintenance of over 750 lane miles of road throughout the county. So every year we invest into resurfacing, pavement marking, pavement preservation, and crack sealing of those roads. We typically tackle about 50 lane miles a year. Next slide. We are also responsible for the maintenance of all the bridges across the county, including the bridges that are in the township areas. the county inspects 141 different structures across the county over a period of years. Next slide. And finally, our budget rolls into our 5-year transportation improvement program, also called our TIP. We just presented our 5-year TIP in February. So this budget, along with forecasted changes, gets incorporated. So we will be presenting our next TIP to the Transportation Committee next February. Did anyone have any questions?
Questions for Kathy? Anybody online? Mr. Martin?
This is really mundane. I'm always confused. What's a road mile?
I'm sorry.
A road mile?
When you talk about our lane mile,
Oh,
is it 2-lane road, 2-lane miles, or?
I'm going to ask Mike to.
Okay, all right.
It's 1 lane.
The other term you'll hear is center lane miles, so that just means how many miles of
Okay,
highway you have
all right.
measured down the center.
Any other questions?
No matter how wide it is.
Okay, well, thank you, Kathy. And we'll,
I have a comment.
Mr. Copey, was that you?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Speak up as much as you can. We can barely hear you.
How's this?
A little better.
Okay. I want to thank the person who made the presentation. It was very easy to listen to and very well organized. And was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
There's Kathy Hopkinson. Anything else?
Thank you, Kathy.
Okay, if there's nothing else, we'll move over to Tom for item 4C, a resolution approving personnel replacement hiring. Actually, the C and D are both the same. Replacement personnel hiring. Can I have a motion and a second for item C? Moved by Mr. Kenyon, second by Mr. Martin. Tom?
Yes, this is to replace an administrative position within our office. It's a position that became vacant about 15 months ago prior to COVID. During COVID, we did not replace that position for various reasons. However, with the opening of the office, as well as moving in or towards the Ride and Cane program, the tolling aspect, there's a lot of administrative requirements, and so we need to fill this vacancy in order to meet the administrative demand that's beginning.
Okay.
Staff's recommending approval.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Berman, Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Copey,
Copy, yes.
Winnicki,
Yes.
Martin.
Martin, yes.
Right.
Rouse, yes.
yes.
Thank you, Mr. Berman.
Okay,
Mr.
I-
Chairman, Bates, please.
Mrs. Bates, go ahead.
Thank you. I had some technical difficulties. This is a question for the speaker about the KDOT projects.
Okay, go ahead.
We've spoken about this project before, but is there any possibility that with some of this, it looks like some new funding or some new planning, that we could move the Orchard Road sound barrier wall up to an earlier date in the budget?
I guess I'll let Tom reply to that.
Yeah, right now, we're still waiting for the matching funds or the funds from the state. And so that's going to be a driving factor, as well as the engineering from the city of Aurora. And so once those two primary factors are in place and we have an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Aurora, then we can look at the appropriate timing. It is in the 5-year financial plan.
Okay, is there anything I can do to help move this along? Talk to City of Aurora? Or is that all in the works?
Everything is in the works. Everything is moving forward with it. I'm not sure, at least at this point in time, what can be done to make it move any quicker. Again, the primary aspect is the funds becoming available.
as always. Well, thank you, everybody, for help on this, and I will keep asking. Thank
No
you.
problem. Okay, so we're going to go to item 4D, another resolution approving personnel replacement and hiring. Could I have a motion and a second?
Caius.
By Mr. Caius, second by Ms. Wodnicki. Tom?
Yes, this position is for traffic operations engineer. This is a professional engineer position, and it's to continue to expand our traffic operations aspect. As many of the members know, we have moved forward with quite a bit in regards to fiber optics along our system, as well as our arterial operations center. And so there's a lot more involved now with this technical aspect. It's an important part of our program, as well as it with the what I would call the intelligent transportation system aspects. It continues to improve our capacity and safety along our roadways. So staff is recommending approval.
Any questions or comments, Ms. Wodnicki?
Yeah, quick question. Why is the appropriation amount not on here? Does it come from, the money come from the state or?
No, we have a budget amount that has been adopted. A lot of our engineering positions, we tend to kind of be careful about putting a dollar amount on it because of the flexibility, as well as we previously had asked this committee for some, I don't know, a dispensation where we can look at trying to accommodate either a civil engineer 1 through a civil engineer 3 position. And so there's some flexibility in that aspect.
I get it. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, we'll do a roll call vote.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Igbo,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Kopi,
Hopi, yes.
Wodnicki,
Yes,
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Fraz.
Raz, yes. Item 5 is our maintenance report from Tom.
Yeah, I do not really have anything to add to the report. We have ongoing mowing occurring right now, but that's all I'll mention. And
Okay, if you have any questions, ask Tom. Then we're going to move over to Jackie Forbes for item number 6, the planning and programming report.
Good morning, everyone. In front of you is our planning and programming report for this month. I typically provide an update on our comprehensive road improvement plan update or the impact fee update. We did have to move our public hearing to July 27th, so you'll see that information listed on there. We are holding it in person and also giving people an option to connect via Zoom. The second item I included was a new analysis that CMAP has put together, looking at how our traffic has changed since the pandemic started until now. So we have some more recent data. You've heard us talking about how certain types of traffic has rebounded more quickly than others. So we have this chart that I did take from some of that analysis, and you can see, actually on the far right you can't see, but the single unit truck traffic we've been telling you has been higher than pre-pandemic levels, and this chart will show you that. And you can also see how passenger vehicles and all vehicle travel has changed over this past year plus. So I thought you might find this interesting to be able to see this more recent data showing the change in the traffic patterns. In the report, there was a link to the CMAP website where you can see this chart and other charts that give you more details about some of the changes and the analysis that they had performed.
Can we move the picture bar off the screen, at least temporarily, so we can see March?
Claire? Can you?
The picture bar, can you take that off so we can see the March?
So we can see.
Maybe over to the far left instead.
Or just slide the chart to the left.
it's on my screen and I've slid it to the left, but it's not doing anything.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
Now you can see that single unit trucks increase there, how much higher it is. The gray line is the combination trucks. The yellow is the all vehicles and the blue is the passenger vehicles.
As Carl mentioned the Amazon trucks as well as UPS and FedEx when you see them come parading out of that new facility on 38.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
They're all going to my house.
Mr. Martin?
I have a question that, this is only anecdotal, but a lot of people are talking about how heavy the expressway traffic is in the city. Are people not returning to public transportation, or what does the data show?
Yeah, we believe people are still not returning to the use of public transportation as they had pre-pandemic, which is why Metra and CTA and PACE are doing a lot of public engagement to encourage people to come back, informing them how they're cleaning their cars and vehicles and trying to get people back. In that CMAP analysis, they actually have charts in there that show expressway information specifically and speeds and how it's changed over time. I don't have it in this
Okay.
exhibit, but if you can see that there. But yeah, we believe people are not taking public transportation. They're not carpooling the way they used to. So it's just single occupancy vehicles.
Well, I mean, and I've heard, again, anecdotally, that if their employment is hybridized and they have to be downtown a couple days a week, they're just thinking, well, I'm going to drive the 2 days. I don't have to get a rhythm together, which is, might change the whole dynamic of how we handle.
Everybody's waiting for the dust to settle and see if everybody goes back to work on some kind of regular schedule. Other questions or comments?
And I do have some slides here that are actually Kane County specific that we thought you would find interesting. So this, at the baseline here is January 2020 numbers. And then you can see at the beginning that is in March on the far left up through, the chart is supposed to go to July, but obviously we're not in July yet. But you can see this is our workplace trips difference from the baseline on weekdays. So you can see how the trend way down as we expected, and then it's kind of remained the same, leveled off even through the present day. This data, I think, is through, it could possibly be through last week. So it's pretty recent. So this is workplace trips on weekdays. These are retail and recreation trips on weekdays. So again, the same thing, your baseline is January 2020. You can see how the trips have changed here and there to present day. We also have the same chart, but on weekends. So people may be taking trips more often on the weekends, perhaps. So there are some differences here that those trips are lower overall from where they were pre-pandemic. And then trips to parks. This was an interesting data set that we were able to obtain that shows how people are using our parks. And you can see, of course, right at the beginning of the pandemic, we knew people were flocking to our parks and open space areas a lot because they wanted to get out and do something. And then here's your weekends for park trips. And that's it. Just thought
Could you share that info with the Forest Preserve?
Yeah.
I think they find that interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Anything else? Any questions for Kathy? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to traffic operations and permitting report.
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to mention is there's some efforts. There's the Woodward intersection just north of Route 64 and Randall Road that is proceeding forward to construction. So I just wanted to mention that. That's a major improvement along Randall Road. That's
So the new car dealerships going into the next to the existing one.
Yep.
Thank you. Then we'll move on to project implementation, item 8 with Steve.
So we have our typical design and construction status updates. Two items I want to bring to your attention are at the top of the IMP report. Long Meadow Parkway, section C2, which is Sand Bloom Williams to Illinois 25, along with Long Meadow Parkway C4, which is the construction of the gantries and the roadside toll building. Due to the pandemic, there's like many processes throughout the county, it's been impacted, the material fabrication and procurement of the roadside building and the gantry. So roadside building is expected to be available in August and the gantry is available in December. This is a significant delay that, obviously we couldn't anticipate it with the COVID pandemic and such. But we're working with the contractor and our roadside vendor and our back office services vendor to keep the building of the toll facility itself, and we're doing off-site testing and those sorts of things to keep that process moving while the construction element comes along. The other item to mention is on C2. There are lead contaminated soils that we're working with IDOT district office and central office, along with the general contractor and disposal facilities and the IEPA to come up with the game plan as to best to remove those soils also. So that sort of have an undetermined time delay also on the contract. At least we haven't put our finger on it yet. So I want to bring these items to your attention. And that's all the updates I have for you other than the photos, unless there's questions.
Mr. Martin?
When does the dirt start to move on the Bliss and Main Street intersection? That was supposed to be this year sometime, isn't it?
It was, and it
You're
is
speaking
a
in the
later
past
agenda
tense.
item today. Jennifer is going to present. We have a great opportunity for possibly some federal funds
Oh, really?
in the next federal transportation bill, and we will discuss that coming up. But based upon that, there's going to be a little project delay in order to take
Right.
advantage of the potential of millions of dollars of federal funds that could come available with the transportation bill.
Okay, thanks.
There'll be item I on today's agenda. Okay, so photos.
Yeah, the photos, we have Long Meadow Parkway C2. As I mentioned, we're doing on this photo putting some conduit and then showing some of the trees, the landscaping where watering occurs. Those are, I think there's a 1-year warranty on that. So the contractors keep watering those. And our Bliss over Lake Run drainage ditch, we've switched over to the other stage and we're poured the wing walls for the new box culvert, and you can see the large tube there to keep flow going through a dry construction site. So that keeps moving forward. Glad to report that the Ellithorpe culvert replacement was done a little bit early, so that's good. We got that road open. And we're doing bridge maintenance on a combined project for Stearns, Dunham, and Burlington Road projects. And last, we're replacing the multi-use path on Fabian Parkway east of 31, between 31 and 25.
Any questions for Steve? I know those bridge and culverts go easier during a drought. So we'll move on to items 8. Actually, we're going to take items 8B through 8H. There's 7 township projects that, as you know, KDOT works with the township highway commissioners on the motor fuel tax amounts and the specs and so forth. So we'll take all item 8, 7 items. I need a motion in a second.
Warnicki moves.
Ms. Warnicki, Mr. Kenyon seconds. Steve?
So I'll go through these all together. Blackberry Township, low bidder was Builders Paving at $417,000. Next was Campton Township, $233,000 and change. Again, Builders Paving. Hampshire Township, Plody was the low bidder at $201,000. For Caneville, we had Builders Paving again at $167,000. Rutland Township, Plody got this one at $239,000 and change. St. Charles Township, Plody again at $886,000 and change. In Virgil Township, we have a typo, I have to admit. This item was rebid. The first time it was bid shows that figure of 66. When we rebid it, the lowest qualified bid by Lafarge was $69,000. So we will be making that update for executive and moving forward.
Okay. Any questions on any of those items? If not, roll call vote.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Igbo,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Copey,
Copy, yes.
Warnicki,
Yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Fraz.
Raz, yes. Okay, we'll move on to item I. This is a resolution related to the Bliss Fabian Main project that was requested. So I assume Mr. Martin will move it. I need a second.
Berman second.
Berman seconds, and Jennifer will be handling this one. That's her baby.
That's right. Thank you, Mr. Fraz. This is my favorite of all my projects. This morning here, we're requesting additional funds required to supplement the Phase 2 engineering services provided by Baxter and Woodman for this Bliss Main Fabian intersection realignment project. And since there have been a couple of other recent committee items regarding this project, we thought today would be a good idea to reintroduce the project to everyone and talk about the schedule delays that Mr. Martin mentioned earlier. The scope of the Bliss Main Fabian intersection realignment project includes the realignment of Bliss Road and the combination of the two offset intersections of Bliss Road with Main Street and Main Street with Fabian Parkway into one four-legged oval-shaped roundabout in unincorporated Blackberry Township. Both of these existing offset intersections are signalized and they're separated by only about 1,200 feet. So traffic backups, rear end crashes, signal delay are all real common out here on this segment. And this project will help improve with all of those elements. The engineering analysis showed the advantages that a roundabout would provide at this location are very clear. The roundabout will reduce delay. It'll improve the intersection skew angle that you see there with Fabian Parkway and Main Street. It will eliminate the super elevation in the intersection with Fabian at Main. That's right, that's when the intersection feels banked and it reduces sight visibility. So we'll flatten that out with the roundabout. So for these reasons, the roundabout is safer than a traditional signal controlled intersection. And it will be more effective at reducing congestion and have lower long-term maintenance costs, and it will also mitigate the rear-end crashes that are so common on this segment. This project did follow the federal aid process through the Phase 1 engineering study and most of the way through the Phase 2 engineering design. But then when the results of our federal funding applications came in and it became clear to us we would not be receiving any federal funds with this project, the project then took the much easier process of assuming it would be locally funded. Recently, however, as Steve mentioned, this project's been identified by Congresswoman Lauren Underwood for funding. And Mr. Fraz, Carl, Tom, and I got a chance to meet her at the project site last week, and that was pretty exciting. So now we are happily expecting about $7 million of the $12 million project to be federally funded. So in order to use these funds, we have to bring this project back into compliance with the federal aid process. And IDOT's going to require us to provide a Phase 1 addendum, additional reviews within their agency, and we'll have to reformat our contract documents. And so that's what the supplement that we're bringing here today is for. We do hope, so the letting, like you mentioned, Mr. Martin, was supposed to happen early this year. We were supposed to start construction this year, and in order to utilize these funds, we decided to delay the letting so that we can try to get half of our project paid for by the feds. And so we hope to build realigned Bliss Road next year and then the roundabout the following year.
Thanks very much. So I guess to summarize, we were ready to go. But if we're willing to wait a little while longer, we can get $10 million of the $12 million costs.
That's exactly
So,
right.
Let me think about it.
Conventional thinking suggests we wait. But yeah, we had a little event out there, and Representative Underwood and her staff showed up, and Jennifer and Madam Chair each did separate video interviews and did a great job. And while we were there, we learned how many gravel trucks go by that intersection in a given minute. So it was a good event. So questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Igbo,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes. Caius, yes.
Kobe, Woniki,
Yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Fraz.
Raz, yes.
Thank you.
I need a motion and a second.
Copy, yes.
Copy votes yes. Need a motion and a second to put our various reports we've heard today on file. Moved by
Caius.
Mr. Caius, second by Mr. Berman. If there's no questions and comments, roll call.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Gopi,
Copy, yes.
Winnicki,
Yes.
Martin, yes.
Fries.
Raz, yes. We do have need for executive session to discuss land acquisition, but before that, I'm going to ask our director, Scheidel, to give us a little bit of an update. They started to reopen the KDOT office building. Maybe just give us a brief update.
Yeah, so about half of our department is actually on the maintenance side. So those folks have been working pretty much as normal with a few modifications since last March. So there's no change on the maintenance side of things. So the rest of the comments that I'll make are with respect to the administration building. That's our professional and technical staff. It's roughly 30 people in the building. Following the county board's action last week, we are sort of doing a soft opening this week. We have written our policy for how that's going to work. It's largely based on the template that was provided by Human Resources. So we're open for business. If somebody wants to walk in and get our attention, we can do that now. So we are restricted our hours a little bit just to make it easier to cover. I think we're doing 9 to 4 right now, Tom, which are still pretty typical business hours. So that started yesterday. I believe we had 0 customers walk up. So a lot of people are accustomed to doing business the way they had during the pandemic. I would imagine that will come back slowly, incrementally over time. One piece that we're still working on is the telework policy, which is required by the county board's action. I would imagine we'll issue that later this week. We have a draft right now. We have roughly half a dozen people that have expressed an interest in continuing to work from home at least part of the time. So we think it works for those people, and we'd like to accommodate that. So we will actually intend to write individual work plans that identify like what hours they will be at home and what hours they'll be in the office. And I think that generally speaking, our expectation is that a majority of the time would be in the office, say something like 60%. And I only do that because I'm recognizing that we are in public service and we sort of have an obligation to our constituents to be there for them if they have questions. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. We're doing a soft opening this week, and then for as the summer goes on, we'll start adjusting and probably being more and more open as time goes on.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions?
That's good news.
Yeah, good news. So if not, then we will move to, I need a motion and a second to go into executive session to discuss land acquisition. Moved by Mr. Martin, second by Ms. Winnicki. Roll call.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Gopi,
Copy, yes.
Winnicki,
Yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Fries.
Raz, yes. We'll move into executive session. Okay, we're back in open session, and I need a motion and a second to approve the acquisition of highway right-of-way for the Bunker Road Extension Project. Motion by
Caius?
Mr. Caius, second by,
Second.
second by Ms. Winnicki. Roll call, please.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Gopi,
Copy, yes.
Winnicki,
Yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Fries.
Raz, yes. Is there any public comment on any non-agenda items, either in person or online? Seeing none, if there's nothing else the committee members want to say, we'll take a motion and a second to adjourn. Moved by Mr. Kenyon, second by Mr. Martin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.